I'm Avery Peters.
I'm Carson Hand. This is our project for Reconico 2021. Our project was to come and design a fire break that would go on the Christmas tree track on the north parcel on the ABAC forest. This Christmas tree track is located at the intersection of Willstill Highway and Adams Road. For preparation for this project, we went and visited the site. We saw where the fire break would begin and came up with a possible endpoint as well. We went and followed some flagging that had been left there previously to see where the fire break could go, how far it was going to go, what bends and turns we'd have to make as well. We also came up with some questions for our stakeholders, which were Dr. Kip Hall and Dan Allison. We asked them what the purpose of this project was for, what to do with the debris, are there any landline markers that we need to stay off of, and where did they plan to see this fire break turning and stopping and starting. We also had some objectives we came set to accomplish for ourselves.
For this project, we had 5 objectives. Our first project was to establish an outline for the fire break, and we did this by looking at an aerial image of the property so we would know exactly where the fire break was located. And once we did that, we went out to the property so we could see what kind of terrain we'd be dealing with and find all the flagging so we'd have a better understanding of how the fire break would be laid out. Our second objective was to remove all standing vegetation from the fire break, and we wanted to do this so that way we could have a good clean fire break so there was no possible chance of the fire getting across the fire break and burning somewhere that was not wanted to be burned. Our third objective was to remove all snags near the fire break so that way they wouldn't be a potential hazard of someone traveling around the fire break on the UTV or foot, and also so when the fire is being performed, if they were to fall and catch on fire, then the fire could potentially cross the fire break and burn somewhere that was not wanted to be burned. Our fourth objective was to remove overhanging limbs from the fire break, and we simply want to do this because we don't want them to get in the way of the UTV traveling around the fire break, or get in the way of people traveling on foot. Our fifth objective was to remove all stumps and logs within the fire break, and we wanted to make sure we did this so that way there wouldn't be anything that could potentially pop the tires of the UTV or cause somebody traveling on foot to trip and fall, especially with a water cannon on their back.
We met with our stakeholders to decide where the map of this fire break needed to be. Where did it need to start? Where did it need to stop? This was our original outline for the project. We also discussed what the purpose of this fire break is for. This fire break is going to serve as a spot to burn for the upcoming fire ecology class. Dr. Hall, well, first thing he wants to do with it is perform a restoration burn. And that's very important to have this fire break because with a restoration burn, it's going to be a fast moving fire and it's going to burn fast as a head fire. And with the amount of debris and vegetation within the stand, it's going to be a very fast, hot moving fire. And having the ability to have this fire break is going to help keep it more safe and contained. We also obtained tools from Mr. Dan. He supplied us with a hatchet, a herbicide solution, which is Tropiclear 50% with blue dye. We also received a bow saw, which was very helpful, and we obtained a hatchet.
For this project, we had some issues. Our first issue was larger trees that needed to be cut down with a chainsaw, and our solution to this was to flag them so that way later Dan could come back and cut them down with a chainsaw. Another issue was work around team member schedules. There was multiple times where we weren't all able to go out at the same time, so we had to work around this to make sure we get the project done on time. And another issue was acquiring tools. There were multiple times where the tools were all checked out, or at least the ones that we needed, so we even had to provide our own tools. And working in high temperatures, it was very hot while we were out there working, and for this, we made sure that we drank plenty of water and took breaks every so often so we wouldn't overheat.
Why is our fire break important? It contains the fire, which would be very important to keep prevention of spot fires, which would cause a problem, especially if it got out into a different stand that didn't need to be burned, or on a different property that wasn't owned by ABAC, that could serve as a possible lawsuit. It allows pathway for the UTVs and emergency vehicles. It's going to be important for when the fire if it got out of hand, emergency vehicles, and Dan could get in there with his UTV and transportation of equipment, which would either be like a water cannon or a fire spotter, any equipment that can be used to put this fire out. It also served as an escape route, which is important for those who were inside the interior of the stand and the fire already got out of hand because of conditions that may cause the fire to change direction. And it allows them to have a safe way to exit the stand without getting burned.
The equipment that we used for this project was loppers, and we use these to cut down a lot of privet, wax myrtle, and gallberry. That's mainly what we were dealing with. We also used the bow saw. We used this to cut down some of the larger debris that we couldn't get with the loppers. The herbicide we used was triclopyr 50% solution, and it contained blue dye, so that way we would know what we already sprayed and what we didn't, so we could go back if we missed anywhere. And we also used the hatchet on some of the bigger objects as well. For the process of our project, as you can see along the back of this picture, we were dealing with tall, dense, woody vegetation such as smilax, blackberry, wax myrtle, Chinese privet, and even muscadine. And the best method that we could come up with for removing the debris was we would remove it for a certain distance, and we would come back afterwards and put it in the piles, as you can see here. And once we would do this, we would evenly distribute it into the stand, which is located on the right in this picture.
The importance of evenly distributing the piles within the stand. One, it helps that those debris burn faster and more efficiently if left in larger piles. And two, if left in those large piles, can cause a problem. For example, if those piles were burned and they just burn all the way and left not attended or not put out properly all the way, after the fire's gone through and everyone's left, winds can come through, catch one of those embers that are still within that smolder of that pile, and pick up that ember, carry it to parts of the stand that haven't been burned, a different stand, or even cross Firebreak into another wood area, some of which may not be owned by ABAC, and into someone else's property. This causes issues with lawsuits, like I mentioned earlier. And also, it can result in large wildfires that can burn lots of acres. For the process of us doing this, we use loppers as our main tool. We use loppers because we couldn't obtain larger equipment, such as brush axes and brush cutters. So we would cut them down at the ground level. This would prevent stalls from being a problem, which would be a problem for the UTV or tripping. And from there, we would rake them off the side, throw them in the woods, and go about that. We also had to use herbicides along the way for many species such as red maple and Chinese privet. These are both invasives that are not wanted or not desired. And the problem with red maple is it is a prolific root stump sprouter, and if not sprayed, sprouts will form from those stumps, and our purpose of clearing this path wouldn't be noticed, as they would grow up and continue to cause problems for the UTV or foot traffic as we go on.
As you can see here on this slide, this is before and after pictures of one particular area of the Firebreak. And in all these pictures to the left is the hardwood bottom, and the stand is located on the right. And here, as you can see, it wouldn't be very suitable for UTV travel or even foot travel. And in this picture you can see, this is during the process, you can see the piles that we created of the debris that we cut and placed together. And over here you have the final product. It is much more suitable for UTV travel and even foot travel, and even performing as a fire break. The only thing that is left is the duff layer.
For further and future maintenance of this Firebreak, I would recommend the continued use of herbicides to prevent stump spiders and root spiders from continuing to be a problem and getting in the stand, causing issues there. And also, you definitely use of herbicide to control invasive species such as red maple and Chinese privet, as they would take over the stand. And the purpose of doing the restoration fire is to get it back to how it would naturally be. I would also recommend coming in here with a tractor and a harrow or a plow and rooting up this soil into more of to the mineral soil to make it cleaner and be a better stop for the Firebreak. But as it stands now, with as clean as it is, you can definitely go in and black line into the stand and expand this Firebreak as it is right now. This is our final product of the Firebreak. It is not entirely as how we planned it to be, as with Dr. Hall, as we discussed earlier, but with the contribution and working together with 3 other groups and not in some lack of communication, this is what we came up with. There were some unexpected turns, but at the end of the day, it still serves its purpose for being a Firebreak, and it can definitely be used to contain the fire for Mr. Hall's class, and can be a safe place for teaching educational experience of how to use fire, which is very important for the areas around here, for many jobs and the habitats that are surrounding this area. We would like to thank our stakeholders and the class for the experience where we received. It can be definitely useful for future jobs and any other applications and methods we use. If you have any other questions, please ask us. Thank you.